gotcha now. This is About What, where we float in the boat and talk about it. About what, you ask? Whatever will get laughs. It's entertaining, but not really something to take as fact. You see, we ain't got no Wi-Fi on the water. There's no odds in the box or long in the tooth, truth in the booth on this show. Mr. Information is away on business. And we're just out here exploring with the missus. You see, I miss back several years ago when you could just sit around shooting the breeze and there wasn't some nerd over in the corner fact-checking absolutely everything you said, whatever that means. It's pretty well known at this point that search engines and AI and all that other stuff is tainted with the official narrative installed in it by the engineers. But never mind that. That's a discussion for a different day. My point is, we're not the History Channel. We're just trying to explore entertaining lines and currents of water and thought. So relax, you nerds. I guess there's no notes on the water either, but we'll deal with that another day as well. As you can probably tell, I'm not Canadian. Not that I'm hating on Canadians. I just think a boat is hilarious. Pretty much everything I've said other than About What, you could probably tell I wasn't Canadian. Although I do find it funny, like how everybody on TV and all forms of media act like every Canadian on earth is just the nicest person in the world. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've met a lot of Canadians. I used to work at a hotel about halfway between Canada and Florida, and like 80% of the people that walked through the door was Canadian. And I don't know, I thought, you know, much like Americans, accents and personalities may vary, or anybody else for that matter. Some of them are really cool, some of them just absolutely suck. This one day, we wasn't real busy, I was sitting there hanging out, whatever, and I worked at the front desk. Well, this woman, probably 70-something, walks through the door with holding this little tiny dog, and I guess she must have seen the sign that said no pets allowed, because before I could so much as say hello, she started giving me an earful about how this is a service animal and it's none of your business what I got it for, and I know my rights, and you can't tell me I can't have it, and blah, 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 blah. Well, about that time, this giant dude walks through the door, covered in ink, all up his arms, his neck, covered his face, and he is just rocking a full-on, I mean, hip cannon, and her jaw drops. She is completely speechless. She watches him go all the way across the lobby, and down the hall out of sight, and she turns around to me and says, "Well?" And I said, "Well, we have rooms. You never told me whether or not you had a reservation." And she's like, "What? Never mind that. Aren't you going to call the police?" And I said, "Well, ma'am, I mean, you're mildly annoying, but I don't think we've got there yet." And she said, "Not about me, you smart aleck. That man had a gun." And I kind of laughed about like I did just now. She said, "Do you find that funny?" And I said, "Well, ma'am, the second you walked through the door, you started giving me an earful about how you know your rights and blah, 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 blah. Well, you see, that's his emotional support gun, and I dare you to tell him he can't have it." And she got mad and left. But anyhow, moving on. Sometimes I'll be, you know, sitting around daydreaming, wondering what might have been if my life was slightly different, whatever. Like, I grew up near freshwater, like lakes, rivers, stuff like that. And I've always had a fascination with the ocean. And I wonder, had I grew up near saltwater, how my life would be different. I mean, there is the possibility that I'd be terrified of water, getting scared of getting carried out to sea or ate by sharks or whatever. Although probably not. I drowned, like passive victim drowned in the ocean when I was like 4 or 5, and it hadn't seemed to scare me away from water. So I'd probably still be into water, but then a lot of things would be different. You know, like boating on the ocean would be completely different, most likely. Fishing would be way, way different. You could catch stuff on the ocean you couldn't dream of catching in freshwater. I'm not talking just the species, just size alone. You couldn't dream of catching in freshwater. And then I thought, well, you know, what would work be like? Would I be a fishing boat charter kind of guy, or you know, this and that? And then, you know, inevitably, when you're daydreaming about the ocean, at some point, you start to wonder, are there mermaids? Were there mermaids? Like, did mermaids used to exist and now they don't? Like, we hunted them to extinction like everything else? Or did mermaids never exist, but now they possibly do? You see, I'm not a biologist, but from what I gather, you can splice the DNA of different organisms, and then the final product, as it were, will presumably have the characteristics you left in the DNA of the being you created, so to speak. Being that that's possible, it's highly unethical and illegal, but so is gain-of-function research, and as far as I know, there's yet to be any prosecutions for that. So the fact that it's possible means someone is most likely doing it. Most likely the same people doing all the other stuff that's illegal and aren't getting prosecuted for it. So I wonder, maybe some shifty scientists with, you know, powerful friends that had access to, I don't know, let's say the DNA of supermodels, could take that DNA and splice it with some sort of fish-like mammal, like perhaps a dolphin, and the final product would be the visual appearance of what mermaids are portrayed as, you know, top half human mermaid, standard issue, bottom half fish-like. And then I think, well, that, you know, could be one of the many things that's being swept under the rug about Scandal Island. Could you imagine that? You have like the Sultan suite instead of the King suite. It's like one up. And you've got an endless pool overlooking the ocean with your choice of mermaids. Yeah, I think the island would have had a completely different feel, maybe, if that was going on. But who's to say it didn't? Although that getting out would probably raise a few more eyebrows than a human child. But, you know, it'd probably be swept under the rug like everything else. But anyhow, if mermaids were real, natural or otherwise, what would that world look like? Like, how would the mermaid fantasy turned reality actually play out? And then, you know, the thing about daydreaming is sometimes I will be thinking about something and kind of get stuck in the aerated recirculation of abstract thought. And much like the metaphor, the only way to get out of it is to go deep enough to catch solid current to pull you out. So let's get into it. If they were real, or now they're real, however you want to look at it, they are most likely mammals and presumably capable of fulfilling the fantasy. But imagine what would happen if, like, a human and a mermaid had a baby. Or, you know, the other way around. There's adventurous women out there, too. What would the baby be? Would it be human? Would it be all fish? Would it be standard mermaid as usual? Or would it be like 3/4 human? Like, it's got little stubby legs. Or, I mean, like, you know, the top half's regular mermaid human business as usual. And then the bottom half is not exactly fish, not exactly human. It's got, like, you know, little stubby legs, big wide webbed feet, and a big wide tail, kind of like an otter, roaming around. Either way, you know, that poor kid, it's either going to be the star of Ripley's or in some real niche adult industry. That's going to be pretty interesting, to say the least. either way, could still be on the island if they hadn't been incinerated yet. Maybe that's the main cover-up, you know, next to talking about shutting down the whole world. I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. Speaking of food. Speaking of food. I mean, although, you know, once again, semi-human, unethical sort of cannibalism, but could you imagine the price of mermaid roe? Maybe that's why they went extinct. But what would you drink with mermaid roe? I mean, like, you know, the Russians are all about the vodka and caviar, but mermaid seems like you'd need something other. That seems like maybe that's like the pirate version of the Russian caviar. You might have to have you some good rum to rinse that down with. I don't know. Be interesting to find out. Speaking of rum, every guy likes to drink a little too much and imagine he's tough, you know. You'll be scrolling through some form of media on your 5th glass of Chardonnay and see a clip from the UFC and think, oh yeah, things were a little different. That could have been my life. I could have done that. And then like, you go a little further and you see like the stare down after the weigh-ins with one guy's being all extra aggressive and tough and trying to like touch noses with the other dude. And I can't help but think how hilarious it would be to just like grab him and give him a passionate kiss on the mouth. It would definitely get a reaction in the venue and online. With that crowd, who knows what kind of reaction it would get. I think it would be hilarious. But the dude would almost definitely punch you in the face immediately. But, you know, he's probably going to punch you in the face in a little while anyhow. You're about to fight him, so, but those guys probably don't usually go for the joke. So, I don't know. Maybe my life would have had to have been considerably different for that to have worked out for me. I don't know. Going for the joke has been a running theme with me. I'm starting to think maybe I should have been a comedian. My whole life I've tried to sort of lean into the joke, go for the thing I thought was funny in the moment, which usually goes horribly wrong because I'm not a comedian and it doesn't usually get taken as a joke. Like a good example, when I was in my early 20s, I was hanging out with this chick and yada yada yada. Next thing you know, she wanted me to talk dirty to her. So I thought it would be hilarious to ask her about the panties her mother laid out for her, like on Seinfeld. And that was the night that I realized not everybody watches Seinfeld. Although, ironically, it did turn out very similar to how it did on the show. Hadn't seen her since. Although, I can't be too hard on her. I've had a few misunderstandings with cultural references myself. I spent a lot of time and money getting a Class A CDL only to hear the song again and then realize that wasn't the Sexy Tractor. When I was in middle school, I didn't hardly get any cultural references. Middle school and younger, we usually didn't have cable. Now, sometimes it was because we were poor, but most of the time, actually mostly, I guess I should say, it was because, according to my parents, television is a conduit of the devil. So we had to go out looking for the devil the old-fashioned way. It was a lot like looking for God. We never found him either. But on the bright side, when you're out looking for the devil, there's, you know, party favors and libations along the way. So that was fun. But anyhow, eventually we got cable because my parents decided that although the conduit of the devil was bad, it didn't come with party favors and libations, so they decided the lesser of two evils, as it were. And then once they got cable, they decided the language was terrible, all the cussing, this, that, and other. So they bought this little device from the Jesus Channel that we called the Word Nazi. And the reason we called it that is because it censored everything. I mean, things that wasn't even like anything remotely bad it would censor. Like, it changed the Dick Van Dyke Show to the Jerk Van Gay Show, which is hysterical and kind of sounds worse. It would change like anything even slightly sexual to hugs, which was hilarious because you'd watch the news and you'd hear about aggravated hugs assault and hugging violently. It was hysterical. now the algorithm has everybody censoring themselves. Seriously, though, can we as a society please just come back to reality and stop baby-proofing speech for whiny, sensitive participation trophy adults? The excuse is saying unalive or deletion doesn't sound as bad as, the words typically used to describe those things. And even if that were true, do you really want horrible things to not seem as bad as they actually are? I mean, if you look through a thesaurus for a wording that doesn't sound as bad, you might say something like, the richest, most powerful, well-connected people in the world occasionally go to an island to spoil the children. It doesn't sound as bad, but it ignores the horrible reality and makes the victims and future victims seem less in need of justice, or actually in need of no justice at all. Sounds like they got a pretty great life. Causes a bit of confusion, if you ask me. Like, at some point they changed STD to STI because STD had a stigma attached to it. So they just changed the last letter of the acronym, so it went from disease to infection, which, I mean, I don't know. I don't think infection sounds any better than disease. But I also don't think the last letter of the acronym is where the stigma came from. So, like, once people realize what you're talking about, and they realize this new thing means the same thing as this old thing, wouldn't the stigma then attach itself to the new thing on account of it means the same thing that had the stigma before? It's just, it doesn't have the stigma until people know what you're talking about. Like, I met this chick one time, and we were just sitting there making some conversation. At some point I asked her, like, what do you do? And she just looked at me weird. And I said, like, for work, what do you do? And she said, oh, I'm self-employed. And I said, oh, cool, doing what? And she said, I'm an escort. And I was like, oh, like, you're like a lead car for over-dimension loads, like mobile homes and such? And she laughed and said, no, I get paid to go on dates. And before I could stop myself, I blurted out, oh, you're a prostitute. And she got mad and said, well, if that's what you want to call it. And so I got defensive for some reason. And in an effort to smooth things out, I said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by it. Really, it has very little to do with what I want to call it. I just happen to speak English and live over here in reality, and that's what it's called. And she said, yeah, if you're stuck in the Stone Age, I prefer to call myself an escort. And it's like, well, I mean, I prefer to call myself young and successful, but I'm not young and I've never been successful. And she got mad and wiggled off. Didn't even give me so much as a menu. I'm not sure that's how that works. But anyhow, it seemed like, just from a sheer business perspective, that you wouldn't get mad if someone wants to have a better understanding of the services you offer. I don't know. I think people could probably get along a lot better with clear communication. Went off on a tangent for a bit. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, cultural references. I've seen a lot of movies and shows and heard a bunch of people talking and whatnot about how fun college is, or was, whatever the case may be. So I decided to go in my 30s, and it was interesting, a lot of reading, but I wouldn't really call it fun. Seems like an expensive mistake. I should have studied less and tried to have more fun. I probably would have failed out in the first couple semesters, but I would have had way better stories and a lot less debt. A degree seems to have made me overqualified for bad jobs and underexperienced for good ones. But everybody says, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I love floating in a boat and shooting the breeze with strangers. I mean, clearly this boat ain't floating. This is a cabin fever episode. But we'll be on the water soon enough. I was actually on the water earlier today, but never mind that. We'll be on the water soon enough. Last summer, I heard someone talking about how AI was going to take everybody's jobs. And he said, we'll play the clip. Oh, wait, that's right. No what's in the box and whatnot. I would put the clip here, but I'm not real sure how to do that yet. The production value will get better as either I learn more or manage to hire someone to do some stuff for me. I'm a little tardy to the techno party, as it were. I guess you could call me techno tardy. But anyhow, he said something along the lines of, "You're all gonna work in boats!" And he gave me a great idea, so we wish him well. Thanks to the internet and a lot of other things making everyone content to sit around and do much of nothing, and algorithms bringing the most clicked videos to the top when you search something. If you search whitewater rafting, the first things that come up is what we call carnage videos. Now, carnage videos are entertaining to watch for sure, because it's all the things that can go wrong. You know, boats flipping, pinning on rocks, this, that, and the other. But what people don't realize is that couple minute, maybe 5 minute long clip, whatever, that may be a decade worth of things that have went wrong on rafting trips. All that doesn't happen on the same trip. But it scares people out of going, and we need to change that. How I'm going to change it is I got to use the internet to bring it back. Now, so far, there's no guests lined up because nobody knows or cares who I am, but hopefully that will change. Man, my eye won't quit itching. If you like the silly exploration of random topics and thought, great. If you absolutely hate me, my topics, my guests, future guests, whatever, well, that's also great. You might see a swim. Either way, you got to watch. If you really want to know firsthand what we're feeling in and out of the boat, find a rafting company near you. I'm trying to boost popularity worldwide. A rising tide floats all boats, as it were. I would tell you where you can see me, but I've never actually done comedy. There's no comedy clubs or actual cities anywhere near me. I have tried moving to an actual city to do comedy, which was one of the main reasons I got that degree that hadn't done me any good. But as soon as an employer realizes I don't already live in their city, they rescind the offer. So do the social media things, stay posted whenever I can put out new stuff. That way you'll see it. It may be random for a while, hopefully not, but we'll see. And hopefully we'll see y'all on the water. Until next time, dress to swim, and we'll see you on the flip side.